Undercover Israeli forces disguise themselves as medics to raid a hospital in the West Bank.
CCTV footage shows the Israeli force making their way through a corridor carrying firearms. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Elago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. The Philippine government misses its GDP target for 2023. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. mediates between the Senate and Congress on the People's Initiative row. Myanmar's anti-coup forces claim they are edging closer to defeating the military junta. Malaysia installs its new king, Sultan Ibrahim Iskandar of Johor. And Celine Dion shares her story to raise awareness for her rare illness.
Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Nevada,
España,
Paris, France,
United Kingdom,
Washington, D.C.,
London Bureau, Papua New Guinea,
in New York,
Washington, D.C.
Mata ng Agila, Mata ng Agila,
Mata ng Agila International.
Trusted, connected, on point.
The Philippine government has missed its gross domestic product target of 6 to 7% for 2023. The Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA, said that country GDP lies at 5.6%, slower than the 2022 7.6%. PSA chief and national statistician Dennis Mapa noted the figures remain slower compared to the 2023 third quarter data of 6%. This year, the country aims to achieve a 6.5% to 7.5%.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has arrived in the Philippines after his two-day state visit to Vietnam. On his return, the president is set to seek advice from legal luminaries to determine the best way to amend the 1987 Constitution, particularly on the economic provisions. This is after a heated tirade between the Senate and the Congress. The president admitted that the issue is used in politics. At the hearing of the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms this Tuesday, a photo was released with the signatures of lead convener Noel Oñate, House Speaker Martin Romualdez, and other congressmen. Oñate confessed that he initiated the said meeting regarding the People's Initiative. House Speaker Romualdez confirmed this and said that the meeting in his townhouse was in the spirit of open dialogue and understanding of civic actions led by citizens.
I have asked the leaders of both houses, and again, some of the best constitutional minds that we have in the Philippines, to come up with a simpler solution that does not cause so much controversy. I think it is the usual conflict between the House and the Senate in the whether to vote together or separately. Now, the best advice that we are getting, the best analysis and interpretation that we have, is that the legislature is of a bicameral nature, and therefore that implies that they will vote separately. So, how that will be done now is what we are trying to figure out. Well, how will it be done so that both houses' role in this bicameral system is preserved, and that is what we are working on right now.
Meanwhile, the president clarified that his relationship with Vice President Sara Duterte has not changed. This is despite the consecutive tirades of former President Rodrigo Duterte and Davao City Mayor Sebastian Duterte to President Marcos. The Uniteam coalition is still intact. The president also assured that VP Sara will remain in the Department of Education.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has announced that Vietnam's largest private company, Vingroup, has shown interest in entering the Philippine market with its electric vehicles or EVs and batteries. President Marcos, along with Trade Secretary Alfredo Pascual, met with Vingroup executives to discuss potential manufacturing or assembly facilities in the Philippines. Vingroup subsidiary VinFast aims to deepen its engagement with the Philippines by introducing its EVs to the market as early as April. Their plan includes establishing a dealership to gauge local demand and exploring options for assembling completely knocked-down EVs or importing parts for an on-site assembly. President Marcos expresses satisfaction with Vingroup's interest in expanding operations in the Philippines, highlighting the opportune timing as the country is set to modernize public utility vehicles. He also emphasized the Philippines' potential to support battery production for EVs, citing ample reserves of nickel, cobalt, and copper, coupled with a skilled young workforce.
Some senators do not favor the plan of former President Rodrigo Duterte to separate Mindanao from the Philippines. Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri, who hails from Mindanao, said the idea of Duterte would bring no good for the country. According to Zubiri, formally withdrawing Mindanao from the Philippines would affect the country's economy.
With due respect to the former president, I think right now, the last thing that we want is na magkagulo-gulo, magkawatak-watak ng ating bansa. Ang akin dyan ay slow down po natin ang away na yun kasi ang importante dyan ay kapakanan ng taong bayan.
Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel, also from Mindanao, expressed opposition to Duterte's plan, which includes the gathering of signatures. Instead, Senator Pimentel urged his colleagues to work tirelessly on making the nation function as a working, effective state. He also insisted the Senate to finish investigating who is behind the funding of the People's Initiative. Meanwhile, Senator Francis Escudero said the plan for Mindanao to secede from the Philippines is not constitutionally possible. Senator Amy Marcos, on the other hand, acknowledged Duterte's discontent about what is happening in Mindanao. But she said she does not want Mindanao to separate from the Philippines.
Yung sentimentong yan, popular sa Mindanao. Pero sana, hindi naman mangyari. Ayaw naman natin na mawatak-watak ang Pilipinas.
The Department of Education, or DepEd, has confirmed its intention to amend an old department order aiming to gradually transition the start of the school year back to June. This decision comes in response to growing complaints about the challenges of conducting classes during the hot summer months of April and May. DepEd Director Leila Ariola disclosed that they have already drafted an amendment to Department Order Number 22, Series of 2023. This amendment is designed to enable schools nationwide to return to the previous June to March academic calendar, potentially starting from school year 2025 to 2026. Director Ariola emphasized that the agency is keen to gather feedback from school division offices, including regional directors, before finalizing the plan.
A research team at the Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, confirms that about 60% of particles pulled out from bangus samples in Agusan del Norte have concentrations of microplastics. These microchemicals originate from different sources such as plastic waste, synthetic fibers, and microbeads in personal care products. Microplastics measure less than 5 millimeters and have infiltrated oceans and rivers. The DOST said the risks of eating food contaminated with microplastics have yet to be estimated since there is no available data yet on the toxicity of such particles. It added that the toxicity of microplastics depends on how much is consumed, but some particles are small enough to penetrate human tissue. The National Research Council of the Philippines, or NRCP, expressed alarm over the pervasiveness of plastic pollution in the country's marine waters. The NRCP vowed to start studying the extent of microplastic pollution and start its mitigation for the safety of the public.
The Bureau of Internal Revenue said that 21 brands of medicine will be exempted from value-added tax. Among those medicines are used to treat cancer, kidney diseases, tuberculosis, hypertension, mental illness, and diabetes. The VAT exemption of medicines are stated under the Memorandum Circular Number 17/2024. BIR Commissioner Romeo Lumagi Jr. noted that the initiative is a response to the Food and Drug Administration, which endorsed the updated list of VAT-exempt products under the Republic Act Number 10963 and 11534.
Coming up, Myanmar's anti-coup forces are moving closer to overturn the junta government. Malaysia prepares for their new king. And disguised Israeli forces raid a hospital in West Bank. Stay tuned, Mata ng Agila International will return for more global news.
This
We are honored and privileged to share with you the highlights of the first ever Open for Business Trailblazers Awards. This milestone for the network and the program is a testament to your continued support for businesses in the Philippines, as well as government initiatives to help MSMEs navigate the local market.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sa dami ng problema, parang ang hirap ng huminga, di ba? Minsan, pakiramdam mo, hopeless na. Kaya dapat ihayag ang saloobin, himayin ang hinaing, alamin ang pwedeng gawin. Mag-reality check tayo.
Let's get together, Sunday 25. Sunday 25.
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. Myanmar's anti-coup forces claim they are edging closer to victory over the generals who seized power in a coup 3 years ago. Acting President Dua Lashila of the National Unity Government, or NUG, of Myanmar highlighted the remarkable progress made by anti-coup forces since the inception of Operation 1027 late last year. This operation, spearheaded by an alliance of ethnic armed groups and resistance fighters, has energized the movement. The NUG comprises elected politicians ousted in the February 2021 coup, who subsequently formed the People's Defense Force, with civilians in response to the military's brutal crackdown on peaceful protests against its usurpation of power. Dua Lashila underscored the junta's mounting challenge, noting a significant increase in military desertions, which he described as a profound humiliation for the regime.
Myanmar has handed over 3 Chinese warlords responsible for trafficking thousands of foreign nationals in various scams back to Beijing. Bai Suo-cheng, Wei Chao-ren, and Liu Zhengxiang led 3 or 4 families that ruled Laoqiang on Myanmar's northeastern border with China. They were taken back to Beijing on a chartered flight, accompanied by 7 other accomplices. This is considered by many as a milestone in the downfall of the military-backed Chinese mafia in Myanmar and another blow for Myanmar's military regime. Myanmar's army, which had been locked in a brutal stalemate since it seized power in early 2021, is now losing territorial battles against well-organized ethnic armies on multiple fronts. For years, China had been pressing their regime to rein in the scam centers where people are trapped and forced to run telephone and online scams targeting victims everywhere. China's unease at what was happening across its border encouraged 3 insurgent armies to launch coordinated attacks against the military late last year, helping work towards the fall of mafia families. The 4 families took over control of Laoqiang in 2009. Liu Guoxi, who led the 4th family, died in 2020. About 44,000 people suspected to be involved in the scam centers have been handed over to China from Myanmar so far. But this most recent development has been branded as a landmark achievement for Beijing.
Malaysia has inaugurated an outspoken motorcycle riding monarch in what is believed to be the world's only rotating monarchy system. Since gaining independence from Britain in 1957, 9 ethnic Malay state rulers have taken turns serving as king for 5-year terms. Sultan Ibrahim Iskandar assumes this esteemed position, which while largely ceremonial, has played a significant role in Malaysia's intricate political landscape. In recent years, the king has utilized seldom invoked discretionary powers to quell political turmoil. Sultan Iskandar of Johor previously said that he was also not keen on becoming just a puppet king, specifically saying, "I will support the government, but if I think they are doing something improper, I will tell them." As the monarch, he holds the authority to grant pardons and serves as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The Sultan is also renowned for his passion for fast cars, and his annual charity rides around Johor on a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, while he personally distributes aid to the underprivileged.
Taiwan's government has expressed anger at China's unilateral decision to change a flight path close to the Taiwan Strait's sensitive median line. China's Civil Aviation Administration has announced that it was canceling an offset measure for the southbound operation of the M503 flight route. Taipei describes the act as a deliberate attempt to change the status quo for possible military means. The median line in the Taiwan Strait had served as an unofficial barrier between Taiwan and China for years. China, however, does not recognize its existence as Chinese warplanes regularly fly over it. Meanwhile, China also said that it was opening routes from west to east, a path towards the direction of Taiwan. Taiwan Civil Aviation Administration and Mainland Affairs Council, however, were strongly against the initiative.
Hong Kong began its public consultation on its national security law on Tuesday. This is years after Beijing imposed a similar law has wiped out dissent in the city. The new law is said to expand the government's ability to prosecute residents for offenses. This includes collaborating with foreign forces to influence legislation or even publish misleading statements. Hong Kong's basic law calls for the city to enact a national security law. However, it has been delayed for years due to widespread public opposition. In 2003, an attempt to pass a version of the law sparked street protests over fears it would erode civil liberties. Estimately 500,000 people participated in the demonstrations. Since 2020, numerous leading pro-democracy activists have been arrested, leaving dozens of civil society groups disbanded.
We can't wait. I've said it very clearly. We can't afford to wait. It's for 26 years we've been waiting. We shouldn't wait any longer. The threats to national security, they are real. We have experienced all these threats. We have suffered from them badly. We were all very heartbreaking. We still remember the pain, the sorrow, We don't want to go through that painful experience again.
Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has vowed that his government would do everything possible to bolster real income growth to put a decisive end to Japan's deflation. Kishida, however, did not announce any new policies but stressed the need to regain public trust in politics. This is amid the country's biggest corruption scandal in decades. In spring 2024, Tokyo plans to take steps on wage talks between employers and workers, as this could pave the way for the Bank of Japan to shift from its unconventional monetary stimulus. Last year, Japan's blue-chip firms offered a 3.6 wage increase, the highest in 30 years. Economists now predict wage hikes in 2024 could be at nearly 3.9%. Japan's economy has recovered from deflation, yet risks of price decline returning has prevented authorities from declaring an end to this deflation.
Former Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife Bushra Bibi have been sentenced to 14 years in prison for their involvement in their illegal sale of state gifts. The Rawalpindi court, specializing in corruption cases, has also barred the couple from seeking public office for 10 years, in addition to imposing a fine of $2.7 million. This verdict follows Khan's recent 10-year sentence for divulging state secrets, which had sparked debates on the legitimacy of the court proceedings.
The legal team of Mr. Imran Khan were ousted from the proceedings, were thrown literally out of the court, and they were not given the right to cross-examine and to defend their clients. This is unconstitutional. This is against the principles of natural justice.
Earlier in August, he was also handed a 3-year prison term for the unauthorized sale of gifts valued at over $501,000, which he received during his tenure as Prime Minister from 2018 to April 2022.
The Illinois Election Board has decided to keep former United States President Donald Trump on the state's primary ballot. The 8-member election board, composed of 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans, ruled it did not have the authority to determine whether Trump violated the insurrection clause of the 14th Amendment. Trump celebrated the Illinois decision, saying the unanimous ruling was in favor of keeping the state's favorite president, referring to himself.
Undercover Israeli forces disguised as medics and other civilians have raided a hospital in the West Bank, killing 3 members of Palestinian armed groups. CCTV footage shows the Israeli force making their way through a corridor carrying firearms. The Israeli military said that men were hiding in the Jenin hospital, citing plans for the said attack. The Palestinian Authority's Ministry of Health, however, accused Israel of performing a new massacre inside hospitals. Meanwhile, the International Committee of the Red Cross has expressed concern over the raid.
The U.S. State Department says it wants to see hospitals protected. This after Israeli undercover troops carried out a raid in the West Bank city of Jenin and killed 3 men that Israel says were part of a terrorist cell. Philip Toledo has more.
U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller says hospitals need to be protected and that no civilians are harmed during operations by Israeli troops.
As I said, some of the facts that have been presented by Israel are that one of them was carrying a gun and that they were planning to carry out or to launch terrorist operations. So you would have to look at all of those facts to make a specific assessment about this operation. But in general, we do want to see hospitals protected. It is important that no civilians were harmed in this operation.
Miller, however, says that protection of hospitals diminishes if they are used to carry out terrorist operations.
We want them to conduct their operations in compliance with international humanitarian law. We would generally say that we don't want them to carry out operations in hospitals, but under international humanitarian law, hospitals do lose some of their protections if they are being used to for the planning of terrorist operations, for the execution of terrorist operations.
Miller also spoke about Israel's accusation against UNRWA as a front used by Hamas. He says the U.S. wants a full investigation and that it welcomes the investigation that the United Nations has launched.
We want to see accountability. We've seen initial steps to accountability in that UNRWA has fired 8 of the employees and suspended 2 others while they conduct the investigation. And we want to see measures put in place to ensure, to the extent possible, that this can never happen again.
Philip Toledo for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Israel accuses the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, or UNRWA, of letting the militant group Hamas use its infrastructure in the Gaza Strip for military activity. Carlo Valdez has the details.
Israeli spokesperson Elon Levy accuses UNRWA of being a front for Hamas. In a video statement, Levy says the UN agency has been fundamentally compromised in 3 main ways. 1. Hiring terrorists on a massive scale. 2. Letting its infrastructure be used for Hamas military activity. And 3. Relying on Hamas for aid distribution in the Gaza Strip. Levy alleges that 10% of the UNRWA employees were members of Hamas or Islamic Jihad militant groups in Gaza. No evidence, however, has been provided.
It is not a neutral organization. It has been hijacked by Hamas, and it is the mechanism that Hamas uses to launder its propaganda and talking points for the world. UNRWA is riddled with Hamas members. Our intelligence indicates that out of approximately 12,000 UNRWA employees in the Gaza Strip, about 10% are Hamas or Islamic Jihad operatives, and another 50% are first-degree relatives of a Hamas operative.
The UN agency has long been under scrutiny from Israel. The Israeli government accuses it of systematically going against the country's interests. Last week, Israel charged that a number of UNRWA employees were involved in the Hamas attack of October 7 on Israel. This accusation forced several countries, including the United States, Britain, Germany, and Japan, to cut funding to the agency. Israel has vowed to stop the agency's work in Gaza after the war. Carlo Valdez for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Toyota and its subsidiaries sold 11.2 million vehicles in 2023, a new global record for annual sales. Estela Dominique reports.
Latest sales figure cements Toyota's position as the world's top-selling automaker for the 4th year in a row. The company's total vehicle sales figure jumped 7.2% on year. It credited its performance to solid demand in each region, as well as an easing of semiconductor shortages. Toyota outperformed Volkswagen, which saw unit sales soar by 12%, selling 9.2 million vehicles last year. Toyota's accomplishment comes as the company is hit by scandal related to rigged tests of its engines in Japan. Estela Dominique from Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
A judge in Delaware has annulled a $55.8 billion pay deal awarded to Elon Musk in 2018 by the electric car company Tesla. Judge Kathleen McCormick called the compensation an unfathomable sum that was not fair to shareholders. She said that the process leading to the package being approved was also deeply flawed. The subject pay deal was the biggest ever in the United States corporate history, putting Musk as the #1 richest person in the world. Since Musk does not receive a salary, Tesla's package tied Musk's compensation to performance targets such as share price and profitability. But Tesla shareholder Richard Tornetta launched legal action calling for the award to be rescinded, arguing there was an overpayment to Musk. The judgment can be appealed to Delaware Supreme Court. If the ruling is upheld, Musk would drop 2 places in the rankings of the world's richest people, below Bernard Arnault, the owner of LVMH, and Jeff Bezos, the Amazon founder.
The Universal Music Group said it has not renewed its licensing agreement with TikTok over the allegations that the China-based platform is creating a music-based business without paying fair value for the music. According to the UMG, it has long pressed TikTok for appropriate artist and songwriter compensation in their talks about the renewal contract. UMG noted that TikTok has proposed paying artists and songwriters at a rate that is a fraction of the rate, the same with what major social platforms pay. Should UMG fail to reach an agreement with TikTok, all of its songs will be removed from the service once the deal expires. TikTok, however, described UMG's statements as false, calling the music label's actions not in the best interests of artists, songwriters, and fans. UMG disclosed that TikTok accounts for only about 1% of the music label's revenue.
Up next, South Africa's ruling ANC suspends a former president's membership. Dog nappings are starting to become increasingly common in the United States. And farmer protests are spreading in Europe. Mata ng Agila International will be back after a short break.
Sa lahat ng problema, walang uurungang reklamo. Re-responde anumang sitwasyon. Kung kayo po ay may sumbong, mag-text lamang po sa 0915-415-1035. Mag-email din sa responde@net25.com. Pwede rin kayo magpadala ng inyong po mensahe sa ating pong Facebook page at Net25TV. Walang imposible at lahat may solusyon sa mga totoong certified e-responder.
Let's get together sa Net25. Sa Net25.
May boyfriend ka na po?
Wala pang boyfriend niya, single na single niya.
Pwede ba isigay mo sa lahat na ako yung boyfriend mo?
Ako boyfriend mo!
Change me! Maganda yung girlfriend ko. Sapat na sa akin na silent lang yung pagmamahala natin. I love you habang buhay.
Yayain lang kita magkape.
Alam mo ba kung anong pwedeng gawin ni Rudy kay May? Pwede siyang painumin ng kape na may pampatulog.
O, di ba? Nag-enjoy ka rin?
O, okay din yung mga pinagawa mo sa akin.
Mas okay yung mga ginawa mo sa akin.
South Africa's ruling ANC suspends the country's former president, Jacob Zuma, from the party. ANC vows to launch a legal challenge against a rival group campaigning in his name. South Africa's ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula announces that Jacob Zuma and others whose conduct is in conflict with the party's values and principles will find themselves outside the African National Congress. The decision will be seen as a further sign of disunity in the movement ahead of this year's general election. The declaration was widely expected as the long-dominant ANC is expected to lose ground. Zuma was the fourth president of Democratic South Africa from 2009 to 2018. He was forced from office under the cloud of corruption allegations. Zuma has become estranged from the party he once led. In December, he declared that he would be campaigning for a new party, Umkhonto weSizwe, or MK, or Spear of the Nation. MK is named after ANC's former armed wing during the anti-apartheid struggle. Mbalula warns that the ANC could complain to the Electoral Court to get the new party deregistered and mount a trademark challenge to recapture the name.
The 3 U.S. soldiers who were killed during a drone attack on a U.S. base in Jordan on January 20, 2024 have been identified. Rose Papaangelis reports.
The U.S. Army Reserve Command releases undated pictures of the 3 U.S. soldiers killed during a drone attack in Jordan. They were 23-year-old Specialist Brianna Alessandria Moffett of Savannah, Georgia, 24-year-old Specialist Kennedy Ladden Sanders of Waycross, Georgia, and 46-year-old Sergeant William Jerome Rivers of Willingboro, New Jersey. The White House vows to respond decisively to the attack it blames on Iran-backed militants. On January 28, a drone slammed into a military base and killed 3 Americans while troops were in their beds. The casualties raise fears of an escalating conflict as fighting rages in Gaza and related violence plagues other parts of the region. The soldiers' deaths are the first U.S. military casualties in an attack in the Middle East since the Israel-Hamas war began. Rose Papa for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Journalists organized an event honoring their colleagues killed in Israeli strikes. RT correspondent Katlego Msomi reports.
Display of solidarity and support to South African journalists organized a poignant night of visual to honor the memory of slain journalists in Gaza. The event held in Mary Fitzgerald Square brought together media figures, reporters and concerned citizens to condemn the indiscriminate violence inflicted by journalists in conflict zones and to demand justice for the fallen. The visual, organized by South African journalists themselves, is happening concurrently in 4 major cities across the country. It's aimed to shed light on the plight of journalists working in dangerous areas and the increasing threats they face.
Mine was to remind the journalists that when their fellow journalists are dying, they shouldn't wait for others to come out. Solidarity is that life-giving principle, as Karl Marx said, and Mandela says it's being in the world for the other. So when Shireen died in 2022, right, the journalists should have gathered, but you can see the pressures they are under commercial media, that they're afraid to come out.
We appreciate the work that they're doing, but we also want to tell the international community that we won't be silent when journalists are being killed. It's an international crime to kill journalists. So we want them to know that we're here, also journalists in Gaza. We want them to know that we're here and we will not be silent.
Many recalled the vital role journalists play as watchdogs, providing crucial information and holding those in power accountable. The event's focus was not only on condemning the violence, but also on celebrating the unwavering determination of journalists who continue to report from volatile.
Indiana State Police officers have rescued circus animals from a burning trailer. 2 officers rushed inside the trailer, leading 5 zebras, 4 camels, and a miniature horse to safety. Reports said the animals were from the Shrine Circus. Authorities disclosed the origin of the fire was from an equipment failure. The 2 police officers were treated at a local hospital for smoke inhalation.
A terrifying moment shows a woman clinging to the hood of a speeding car to save her dog in Los Angeles is going viral. Ali Zacharias said she and her French bulldog named Onyx were having lunch when her dog was snatched. Zacharias said the alleged dog nappers rode the car, so she tried her best to stop them from running away. She managed to cling on for several blocks, but the alleged thieves swerved, sending her to the ground without major injuries. As of now, Onyx is still missing and a reward is being offered for the dog's return. The Los Angeles Police Department is investigating the incident to catch the suspects.
The Belgian Port of Zeebrugge faced a blockade on Tuesday, leading to traffic congestion on surrounding roads as farmer protests swept across Europe. Port authorities confirmed that all access roads were obstructed and impacted commercial trade, particularly the import and export of food to and from the United Kingdom, Ireland, and Scandinavia.
Ce sont les agriculteurs et agricultrices qui sont les premières victimes aujourd'hui d'un système qui les rend malades en les obligeant à utiliser des pesticides dangereux par la santé. Ce sont ces agriculteurs et agricultrices qui sont les premières victimes d'une volatilité des prix aussi bien pour les entrants que pour les matières premières agricoles qu'ils produisent.
The protest, which lasted until midnight, was driven by farmers' dissatisfaction with the prices they receive for their produce, attributing this to cheap imports and the repercussions of European Union environmental policies.
bougerait pas, on bouge dans toute l'Europe, c'est qu'il y a un réel problème. Et si les politiques et les dirigeants européens ne se rendent pas compte qu'il y a un gros problème, c'est qu'ils ne se tracassent plus très fort de notre agriculture.
Tractors adorned with slogans such as "Do you like bread, meat, or fries? You won't get them without farmers" underscore the frustration felt by many farmers who perceive a lack of understanding among politicians regarding the challenges they face. Farmers said they targeted the port because they believed it received economic support at the expense of agricultural workers.
Italy's government has expressed disapproval over the treatment of an Italian woman who is awaiting trial in Hungary for alleged involvement in an attack on neo-Nazis. Images of Ilaria Salis in court with her hands cuffed and chained and her feet secured have sparked outrage in Italy. Italian ministers have summoned a Budapest ambassador to protest against what they perceive as excessive measures taken by Hungarian authorities. Salis was arrested in February last year following a counter-demonstration against a neo-Nazi rally and faces charges of attempted assault with allegations of ties to an extreme left-wing organization. While Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani stressed that he did not wish to interfere in Hungary's justice system, he expressed concern that the treatment of Salis seemed inappropriate and out of line with legal norms.
In Brazil, a smartphone app lets indigenous peoples connect using their own native tongues. Mila Simbulan has the details.
For indigenous communities in the Brazilian Amazon, getting online is a challenge. Now, a smartphone app is making it easier to connect. The app allows them to use their own native languages. Hyper-connected Brazil has more cell phones than people. Communications consultancy Teleco says there are over 250 million cell phones in Brazil. Its population, 203 million. However, the 1.7 million indigenous inhabitants have often been excluded from the connectivity revolution. Devices typically have keyboards in Brazilian Portuguese and not in indigenous languages. Two young friends from the Amazon region developed the app Linklado. It is a digital keyboard enabling native communities to write with a mix of Latin letters, bars, swoops accent, and other marks used in many indigenous alphabets in Brazil. Launched in 2022, it is now helping indigenous users communicate with each other and the world. The app developer says Linklado now works for every indigenous language in the Amazon. That is around 40 in all. Linklado is free. But if you want your text translated into indigenous languages, non-speakers have an option to pay. The revenue-generating project is helping indigenous women earn income with their knowledge of local languages, women who are often left out of Latin America's biggest economy. The app is also helping the effort to save indigenous languages at risk of dying out. Mila Simbulan for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Colombian researchers have patented a formula designed to protect bees and other pollinators from insecticides. This is part of the Colombian institution's aim to conserve approximately 20,000 species of bees around the world. According to the research, the formula is a plant-derived flavonoid-like liquid that will be fed to bees. During the experiment, bees captured in tiny plastic vests were fed the formula through thin funnels. Results showed that the treated group yielded greater resistance to the adverse effect of pesticides compared to their non-supplemented counterparts. The extensive use of pesticides in large-scale agriculture has affected bees in their fundamental role in the pollination process. The pesticides, however, pose threats. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations said that 35% of insect species in the world are at risk of being extinct due to human activity. Bees are among those at risk of extinction. coming right up. Joe Biden is pursuing a high-profile political endorsement. U.S. figure skaters are set to get Olympic team event gold 2 years after competing. And Celine Dion loosens up about stiff person's disease. Catch more news in sports and entertainment when we return.
We're in the sky! Kaya lumilipad na naman tayo. Sino ba itong uupo ngayon sa ating iconic chairs?
Finally, nag-guess na rin ako dito. Just canceled everything for you.
Talaga, ay naku, nakakatuwa naman. Medyo kakaiba ang ating papasukin ngayong araw. The Goodwill Resort with the Goodwill Cast. Woo! Tinur niya tayo sa kanyang bagong buhay.
Mundo.
Tamang-tama, pinag-uusapan sila ng lahat ngayon. Niya ka!
Ayan na.
Ayan na. Alam mo talaga siya, no? Yes! Tatlong buwan! Kinasal ka na! Yes! Ngayon natin malalaman ang totoo. So now, let's spill the coffee.
Spill the coffee.
Yes. And we're here at Net25. Ito ang tahanan ng Corina Interviews.
Let's net together. Sa Net25. Sa Net25.
In India, snow-dependent industry is melting away as temperatures reach extreme highs. Bernadette Regini has more details.
Winter in the Himalayas means blanketing snow. And for Gulmarg, that usually means thousands of tourists. It is one of the highest ski resorts in the world. This year, however, the deep powder that was once taken for granted is gone. The slopes are now brown and bare. Experts say it is a stark manifestation of extreme weather impact caused by the rapidly heating planet. The lack of snow is not only hammering the ski industry, but also impacting agriculture. Agriculture is the mainstay of Kashmir's economy. Scientists warn that rising global temperatures unleash a cascade of extreme weather events. Beyond the collapse of the skiing industry, many in the ecologically fragile region worry about impending water shortages. This would have a dire impact on agriculture. Climate scientist Ramshu says research indicates Kashmir will experience more frequent and prolonged dry spells. They are projected to worsen in the decades ahead. Bernadette Regini for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The United States President Joe Biden is reportedly hoping to get global pop star Taylor Swift's endorsement for the 2024 election. Sources say Biden wants Swift to sing in his campaigns, recognizing her influence on young voters. Some strategists believe Swift's impact will especially be pivotal to Biden's re-election strategy, as 18% of voters are swayed by endorsement. Members of the U.S. Olympic figure skating team are set to receive gold medals now that Russian skater Kamila Valieva has been disqualified for doping during the 2022 Winter Games in Beijing. The U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee received word that the International Olympic Committee would award the gold to the U.S. for the team competition, which was thrown into turmoil after Valieva's positive test from 6 weeks before the competition was revealed. The U.S. OPC said, and I quote, is now in position to award the medals in accordance with the ranking, which has to be established by the International Skating Union. The U.S. OPC confirmed that CEO Sarah Hirschland had received the news that the Americans were declared the winners. The Americans to receive the gold medals are Evan Bates, Karen Chen, Nathan Chen, Madison Chook, Zachary Donahue, Brandon Fraser, Madison Hubble, Alexa Knierim, and Vincent Zhu. There was no immediate word on where a medal ceremony might take place. The U.S. OPC said it was starting the process of finding a suitable time and place to award its skaters the gold.
Alec Baldwin will be arraigned on Thursday in New Mexico after he was again charged with involuntary manslaughter over the shooting of a cinematographer. A spokesperson for New Mexico's court system confirmed that Baldwin's arraignment in the First Judicial District Court in Santa Fe would be a virtual proceeding. Baldwin's lawyers did not respond to a request for any comment. The October 21, 2021 shooting on the set of Rust killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins. The movie's director, Joel Souza, was wounded in the shoulder by the same bullet. Baldwin has insisted he pulled back the hammer but did not pull the trigger.
After 20 years, the epic Korean drama Jewel in the Palace will return to the small screen. Entertainment company Fantagio said Jewel in the Palace will have a sequel titled Unyo de Jangum. Lee Young-ae will also reprise her iconic role as Jangum. She will become a Unyo, a female physician, which continues the story of Jewel in the Palace. The sequel will start filming in October and will air early next year.
Celine Dion's new documentary will provide an intimate look in the singer's career and private life as she navigates the challenges of her rare illness. Catherine Ertula has the details.
There's nothing I feel, and I know that my heart will go on.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to reach out to you. I miss you all so much. And I can't wait to be on stage talking to you in person. As you know, I've always been an open book, and I wasn't ready to say anything before, but I'm ready now.
We'll stay forever this way.
Recently, I've been diagnosed with a very rare neurological disorder called stiff person syndrome, which affects something like 1 in a million people. Unfortunately, these spasms affect every aspect of my daily life, sometimes causing difficulties when I walk and not allowing me to use my vocal cords to sing the way I'm used to.
An upcoming documentary of the Canadian superstar titled I Am Celine Dion will give fans a glimpse of the difficult years during her career with hopes of educating people after being diagnosed with stiff person syndrome or SPS. Directed by the Oscar-nominated filmmaker Irene Taylor, the film promises to capture a global megastar's never-before-seen private life. It will also uncover the lengths that the singer has gone through to continue performing amidst the rare and incurable neurological disease that causes her to have debilitating muscle spasms.
All I know is singing. It's what I've done all my life. And it's what I love to do the most. I miss you so much. I miss seeing all of you being on the stage, performing for you. For me to reach you again, I have no choice but to concentrate on my health at this moment. And I have hope that I'm on the road to recovery. This is my focus, and I'm doing everything that I can to recuperate.
In a press release shared by Dion, she states her intentions behind the documentary, saying, and I quote, "During this absence, I decided I wanted to document this part of my life, to try to raise awareness of this little-known condition to help others who share this diagnosis." The film comes less than 2 years after the Canadian songstress revealed her SPS diagnosis on Instagram, which also led to the cancellation of all of her upcoming tour dates. Amazon MGM Studios has yet to release a schedule of when the film will stream on Prime Video, after acquiring worldwide rights to the feature-length documentary.
I want to thank you so much for your encouraging wishes of love and support on my social media. This means a lot to me. Take care of yourselves. Be well. I love you guys so much. And I really hope I can see you again real soon.
There's nothing I fear.
Catherine Ertula from Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Go on.
I love Celine Dion. I think she's such a kind person.
And she's actually a proud Canadian singer. So for me, growing up in Canada, we just really listened to her music. She's absolutely amazing. I'm sure it wasn't easy to open up what she's going through. Imagine just losing or not being able to do what you most love doing.
And she just said it must be really frustrating for her. I mean, she's a fantastic singer, and now she can't do any of that. I'm all for her recovery.
Yes, and I hope she does keep in mind that she did make an impact in the music industry.
She did. And to send you off today, here's a quote from Italian astronomer Galileo Galilei. Behind any problem, there is an opportunity.
That's an interesting perspective, because I think we all just get overwhelmed with problems. Sometimes we think we can't even find solutions, what more opportunities. But I think if we take some time to just breathe, really go through the problem, then we'll seek that opportunity.
Just as Celine Dion, amid her condition, she raises awareness on SPS. Moving on, before we say goodnight, for those of you who are still on the road, tune in to Eagle FM 95.5.
You can also catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richielago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point. Thank you for choosing Mata ng Agila International as your trusted news source, keeping you connected to the world and on point with stories from around the globe. Follow, like, and subscribe to @Net25 TV.